Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.
From St. Louis Public Radio. This is St. Louis on the Air.
Welcome back. This spring, customers of Kohn's Deli on Old Olive Street in Creve Coeur were alarmed and dismayed by news that the beloved restaurant was up for sale. Many worried about what might change at the deli, which has operated for nearly 60 years. Places like Kohn's, which is St. Louis's only kosher grocery and restaurant, provide more than killer pastrami sandwiches. Their where tastes and memories are made, both to be shared long after those last bites get gobbled down. Lenny Kohn ran the shop with his sister Rosemary, starting in 1979. This past April, he spoke with St. Louis Public Radio's Shula Newman about what it feels like to give up the business that has been part of his life and family for decades. At the time, he said that he was at his happiest when the store was bustling with customers.
That's probably the thing that gives me the best feeling is just the people that we've taken care of over the years, and they show a lot of gratitude to me. And so, I'm if we're successful with this sale, I'm leaving with a happy heart.
As it turns out, Lenny will indeed leave the role with a happy heart, because a new owner has stepped forward to keep Kohn's going under its original family name. And last week, the new owner, Chef A.J. Moll, sat down with St. Louis on the Air producer Danny Wysentowski.
Kohn's Deli is a St. Louis food institution. And on a recent visit to the shop in Creve Coeur, the activity inside is pretty much the same as what you'd find there on any other day in its nearly 60 years of business. Customers line up at the butcher stand for fresh cuts of meat. They order sandwiches marketed for their killer pastrami. And there is nowhere else in Missouri where this is happening. Kohn's has served generations of Jewish people and food lovers alike, and today it stands as the state's only kosher grocery and restaurant. Yet earlier this year, news of the store going up for sale triggered many to worry that the beloved deli could be in danger of closing for good. But a local chef in St. Louis, A.J. Moll, wasn't worried.
So I never believed that it was going to close down. I knew it was for sale. And secretly a whisper campaign within the Jewish community, probably the past at least 5 years, we knew that the owners were looking to sell. So I wasn't worried it was going to close down, but a lot of people in our community were.
AJ is not new to the food business. He spent more than a decade in retail, starting at Schnucks as a teenager before moving on to catering and providing kosher food services at 2 local Jewish schools. But his newest venture, taking over operations as part owner of Kohn's.
I just knew they were looking for a buyer, and so they went public with the sale in April. Or actually it was March, and then I was approached in April by some business people locally here in St. Louis. The terms weren't all that great, but it got me to look at, hey, this might be something I could do. Because if they never approached me, I wouldn't even considered it. And I ended up making a really good deal with partners on the East Coast.
It's a major transition for the longtime family-run deli, but Kohn's has experienced other changes in its 6 decades. It was opened in 1963 by 2 Holocaust survivors, Bobby and Simon Kohn, and as a modest butcher shop, the store thrived.
So my first memory of Kohn's was I was 8 years old. That's what I can remember as far back. I was about 8 years old, and there was a different location of Kohn's. This is the 3rd location. The one before, my grandfather would take me and my grandmother would go across to the beauty shop. It was much smaller and much more closed in. This is more like a micro market. So back then it was more a butcher deli, and it's really just expanded.
This will be the first time a non-Kohn has run the store, though it will keep its name as a condition of the sale. In 1979, the store first passed to 2 Kohn siblings, Lenny and Rosemary, and now the mantle falls to Chef Moll. But one thing that isn't changing, the store's marquee offering, that killer pastrami sandwich.
I think it's because it's made in-house. We use a brine injector machine, which most people would have to let the meat sit for 5 days. We actually inject the brine in it, let it sit for 1 day, so it gets us to get more flavor and in a quicker time. And then we have a proprietary spice blend.
Running a place like Kohn's means a lot of running around, managing a grocery, restaurant, bakery, and during the season, a food stand at Busch Stadium. With less than 2 weeks on the job, Moll is still working just to get up to speed.
Kohn's went into business in 1963, and this building that we're in right now was built in 1994. We're the last freestanding kosher market in the entire state, and if we went out of business, then people would not be able to get the kosher fresh foods that they wanted. You get frozen kosher meat at some of the bigger retail chains, but you're not going to get specialty cuts. You're not going to get homemade pastrami, but you're going to get processed meats sealed in a deli thing. You're not going to get a fresh cold cut like here. I've been a customer for years. I've known Lenny. He's always been cordial. He has a great business mind. He's a great leader. He knows how to direct his people, and that's what I'm kind of learning from him, because there's a million different things going on in the store, and you have to have good people, and that's what he's good at.
The recent news that the deli will remain open, and as Kohn's, came as a relief to its many loyal customers. Whether you're there for its kosher selections or because that pastrami sandwich really is killer, it's clear there is life at Kohn's, just as there's always been. It's busy life, traditional and delicious.
I've spent 15 years in retail grocery. I started as a bagger at Schnucks at 16 years old, so I kind of had that side of it. And then for the other 15 years I worked, it was catering, chef, food service director, not open to the public. So I love people, and I'm glad to be back in a public environment. I mean, I just invite everybody to come down, get a killer pastrami, get an upside-down cupcake, say hello to me. I want to build those relationships, and we can't wait to grow and expand in the market.
This episode was produced by Danny Wysentowski.
Audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr. Our production intern is Avery Rogers. Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Our podcast proudly supports St. Louis artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.